exchange.
All right. Welcome to the December 13th, 2021 Master Plan Implementation Committee meeting. Pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, this meeting of the Master Plan Implementation Committee will be conducted via remote means. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and or parties with a right and or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the town's website at www.northandoverma.gov. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to watch the meeting may do so on their televisions by tuning to Comcast Channel 8 or Verizon Channel 26 or online at www.northandovercam.org. No in-person attendance of the members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on the Town of North Andover website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. If the public would like to participate in public meetings, please email your question or comment prior to or during the meeting to jstrauss, JSTRAUSS, at northandoverma.gov. The question comment will be read during the proceedings and responded to accordingly. All right. So first things first, we need someone to record minutes tonight if they're willing and able.
Well, I guess it's probably coming around to my turn again. So,
all right. Appreciate it, George.
Great. Thanks, George.
Okay.
Thanks,
I assume
George.
Next we should probably take attendance. So, okay, Jay Dowd.
Here.
George Kohler.
Here.
Stan Limpert.
Here.
Sean McDonough.
Here.
Meredith Barnes-Cook.
Here.
I'm Jonathan Strauss. I'm here. Kelly Cormier will not be attending tonight, and if Holly Williams shows up, we will note her attendance as well.
And Chris Nobley is also not here. Just note that.
Okay, thank you. All right. So I have not received any public comments prior to or thus far into the meeting. Andrew, I'm assuming the same. Okay, so no public comments have been recorded as of yet. First thing up on the agenda is the approval of the November 15th, 2021 meeting minutes. Any discussion?
Move to approve the minutes.
John?
Yes.
As part of the discussion, I have one item I'd like to call our
I'm sorry,
attention.
Jay.
That's fine.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Jay.
Yes.
Can we just have someone? I heard Stan
Move.
Oh, sure.
Can someone second it, and then you guys can go into discussion before a vote?
Just
I'll
second
second
it.
it. I'll second it.
Okay, great.
Okay. All right, so all those in favor of,
Wait.
No, discussion before the vote.
John,
oh, sorry.
there's a point of discussion.
Yep.
There's a line in the minutes where I have quite clearly given our board, our MPIC, far more authority than they have. When I said that this can serve as a way, it's about under new business, under the website discussion. I suggested that we use color coding in order to make the thing more visible, visually attractive, and maybe even easier to read. But then later, I say that this can serve as a way for the public to be assured that the MPIC is guiding the development of the town. I think I'm overstating our authority there. So I just like to suggest that we amend it to say the select board, that the public would be assured that the select board is guiding the development of the town according to the master plan. That's what I meant to say.
Andrew, what's the protocol for accepting that amendment?
Well, I think Jay is proposing an amendment, and I second it. Now we can discuss the amendment.
Well, do we, all right, should we vote to approve the minutes as amended?
Unless there's
I
any
would say
discussion.
if you could entertain another motion to
Yes.
approve the minutes as amended, someone
Okay.
would need to second that, and then you can discuss
Gotcha.
the amendment and the rest of the minutes.
All right. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes as amended?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. All right.
That was
So
fair.
all those in favor of approving the minutes from the November 15th, 2021 meeting as amended, all those in, I'll go in order. Sorry. Jay Dowd,
Yes.
George Collar,
Yes.
Stan Limpert,
Yes.
Meredith Barnes Cook,
Yes.
Holly Williams,
Yes.
and myself, John Strauss. Yes. So,
How about Sean?
oh, is Sean? I don't see him on my screen. Did he drop
Looks like
off?
he's coming back in now.
Let's come back in.
All right. Sean, are you there? There you are. All right. There was a motion to approve the meeting minutes as amended. Do you approve? Yay or nay?
Well, I could give him a hard time and say I specifically remember saying that he was going to do that, but I'll pass and I'll approve the motion as amended.
All right. So we got that. All right. I'm going to try to move again. As Andrew said, we're under a limited time constraint tonight, so I'm going to try to keep things moving. Old business. I'm going to let Dan talk briefly, but basically the Community Preservation Committee had their big meeting the other night. A couple of us were there, relative to what occurred and the potential for their for what they do, dovetailing with what our master plan elements are doing. So, over to you, Dan.
Yep. So the public hearing went well. About 4 or 5 projects came in. Some of probably the most relevant ones are there's a citizen who is looking to basically looking for insight on how best to seek funding for improving the boat launch on the north end of Lake Chickawick. So a few town staff and him have a meeting later in the week to discuss that. That would likely be permitting 1 year and then construction in a future year. So I think that that's certainly relevant to some of the master plan goals. There's a proposal to do an invasive species inventory on, they haven't selected an open space location yet, but are going to look at different open spaces that have been acquired through CBC funds to do a survey of invasive species and potentially eradicate and then replace with native species. Let's see, there's a proposal to add sort of seating and other amenities on the front lawn of the Stevens Library, not the park behind it. They don't have a great sense of what exactly they want to put there yet, and what they do want to put there will determine whether or not the project's eligible, but are definitely looking to improve that space into more of a usable park. What else was there? There's a
The trails with the high school cross-country team.
Oh, yep. So there's a property on Osgood Street abutting the Stevens estate the town bought back in 2012. There had been plans to put trails there previously when the parcel was bought, and now and instead of going with that route, they're coming back for funding to build, I guess, a more intensive trail network there for the cross-country team. And there's also a group that's looking to do a sort of design study on Academy Road that probably wouldn't be eligible for CPC funds. Some of the landscaping they're proposing doing might be, but for the study itself, that's they're probably going to have to find a different approach. They were also, I know one of them at least came to the Complete Streets meeting we had last month because they were interested in seeing how, potentially Complete Streets funding could be used to add sidewalks or maybe some bicycle facilities on Academy Road. But I don't know that they're going to be able to do anything with CPC, and I don't know that that's a high priority Complete Streets project based on where it is and what they're actually looking to do. But that's about it. We didn't talk about this at the hearing, but have been talking internally about the potential to go to the CPC for funding to permit another boat launch, but on the Merrimack near the Lawrence Sewer District building over on Riverview Street. There's a lot of permitting involved in that, and I'm still talking to people with the state to see exactly what that entails before we get a quote and then determine whether or not, the CPC would be able to do anything for us there. But those are the projects that are coming up. Definitely some relationship to, what's called out in the master plan. So we're moving forward.
Excellent. There was also, I don't know, I may have missed it. Did you mention the people from the library looking to work out front?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Sorry. Okay. So next on the agenda was continuing discussion about the draft status report relative to the elements and strategies.
Hey, John, I'm not trying. This is not me telling you how to run your meeting. I just didn't know if anybody had questions or
sorry.
for Dan on the CPC stuff.
There were some proposals from the Historical Society too, right?
You want to take that,
Sorry.
Dan? Or?
Yep. Sorry.
Sorry.
There were proposals from the Historical Society.
They want to improve Johnson
wasn't-
Cottage.
It wasn't clear if they were proposing. They kind of came with their list of different goals for the long term, and so there wasn't one discrete project that they were clearly proposing for this upcoming year. But there's a lot of improvements they want to make to what are they calling it now? The Stevens Center, both at the center, including making it accessible, preserving records is one of the big things they want to do, and finding basically improving different exhibits they have and stuff like that. And it's really tricky determining whether or not certain historical exhibits are eligible. And so there wasn't an immediate determination made on whether or not, any of those projects are right for CPC, but they're, always interested in historical preservation. So we'll see what they bring forward for this year, but there's a whole list of projects that they had mentioned at the hearing.
Okay. Anybody, any other questions? Okay. All right. So moving on to the status report for our group. and I have to apologize. I'm not sure if I sent out a link to everybody relative to the working spreadsheet that I had started for the previous meeting. I thought I did. If I didn't, I apologize. I can get that out to you. And I don't know if the subcommittees were able to get together and strategize. So obviously we're not under a gun as far as getting something done, but it's something we should keep working on to try to establish something, in the near future, unless people think otherwise. I know regarding economic development, I reached out to Chris. I just reached out to Sean. I apologize. There was a communication mishap on my end. I started to try to provide some updates relative to that. Same thing relative to the transportation. I'm working with Jay and Meredith to try to get something roughed out on that. As far as the other elements categories, I don't know where we stand necessarily. So I don't know if you guys want to take an opportunity to just get an update, or if there is no update, no problem whatsoever. But if people have something relative to the land use, housing, or open space recreation, historic, cultural, natural resources, public facilities, I don't know where we stand necessarily on those categories. So again, if anybody has any updates you want to share, please, by all means.
Well, to tell you the truth, John, you didn't send out that link.
I didn't. Okay. I have to apologize. I thought I sent it out way back, but I meant to send it out prior to this meeting as well. So what I will do then in that case is I will follow up with this meeting with that link. Again, just to summarize what we're going for, look at the element goal and the strategy, and is there something in the works? Is it currently being addressed? Is it potentially being addressed? Is there a study that the town has started? You don't have to fill it out if there's no update to be provided, but if there's any information that helps, all the better. It's all about providing information to anybody off the street who's looking at it. So.
Hey, John, can I interject with something that really qualifies new business, but I think dovetails nicely with
Wow,
this,
man.
and maybe will serve as a little bit of inspiration on trying to get some of this information cobbled together.
Yeah.
So I know a lot's been made about how do we push this information out. It's one thing, there's sort of two ends of this, I think we've discussed, is collecting the information, understanding where certain strategies and goals from the master plan, where they stand, and then pushing that information out to the larger public. I didn't post this on the agenda, so I want to be very clear. I'm going to give you a little preview of something, but we really need to put this as an agenda item on the next agenda so we can go into more depth. But I'm going to quickly share my screen and show you something. You guys see this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is a rough outline at this point of a master plan implementation. Sorry, my computer's giving me fits here. Of a master plan implementation website, okay, that we would link to from your, I'm going to unplug something. It's probably going to make me dark here. That would link to from your committee page. And essentially you'd have links to each of the elements of the master plan. So land use, housing, economic development, transportation. And each page would have strategies, right? So strategy 1, evaluate sidewalk gas, prioritize new sidewalks based on their ability to connect residents and schools. And it would be a collapsible field. You can click on the collapsible field and open up notes or bullet points about things that have been recently done or done in the recent past. In this particular case, for this sidewalk strategy, you have information about how the planning department and the public works staff are developing a sidewalk connectivity plan. In 2021, we adopted a complete streets policy. We have links to the complete streets policy. And early December 2020, the town was awarded a shared streets and spaces grant from MassDOT. We built the sidewalk between Elm and 3rd Street. So, we can continue to populate it. And I basically just created this template, and I'm sort of just passed the baton on to Dan, and I will continue to be involved in it. So I'm certainly by no means relinquishing myself from it, but Dan can take a little bit of a lead from here. And then we can work collectively as a group, the whole committee and staff, Gene, myself, Dan, to update this as needed. And it's going to take some time. There's more than 100 strategies. And not every strategy has something to report per se. But we'll get there. And I think we'll get this to a critical mass point where we can put this out on the website, and this will be a compendium of information that you guys can refer to, and it can be something the public can also look at. So hopefully this is something folks think we're going in the right direction on, but I just wanted to quickly share that.
I think it's a great start. Absolute great place to start. It's just a matter of providing information to populate everything.
I'd like to add my 2 cents. I think it's a great idea. I assume that there will be a link to an Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it is actually, George, because I'm looking. So I think and this is just my opinion, and I'm happy to go another direction with it if you guys feel otherwise. I think the Excel spreadsheet is a little bit busy, and it's a little tough to put in comprehensive notes into the spreadsheet, because then you go all the way to the right of the spreadsheet and you're having to fill in a lot of notes about any of the strategies. This website version allows you to put that content in there without overcrowding the spreadsheet. So this essentially is the spreadsheet.
Okay, well, maybe I shouldn't have said a spreadsheet, but there would be a column where 1 month or one time period, there would be a column where we would fill in what the status is of each of the strategies within the area. And then the next time period, month, quarter, whatever, there'd be a new assessment of status. And that could be compared with the old assessment of status, but that maybe only have 2 columns which contain status. In other words, you'd put one in, then you'd put a new one in. Then when you put the third one in, you delete the oldest one. So there'd only be 2 at any one time. But you could get the current, the user could get the current status and compare it with what the status was a month ago or 3 months ago.
Yeah, so I think, and I'd be curious to know what other committee members think about this. This is my view. All right, I'm gonna just share my view. I think status, and I don't know if this is what you're saying, George, but I don't look at any of these. I don't look at a lot of these strategies as black and white, complete, not complete. Right. I look at all of them as they always need to be in process. Now, there's a few that don't fall into that category, like the complete streets policy, adopting it. That's a pretty clear-cut strategy. You either adopt the complete streets policy or you don't, and so you either complete it or you don't. But many of these strategies, kind of like what I was showing you before, like the transportation, evaluate sidewalk gaps. We're always going to be doing that. You know what I mean? It's going to take years and years and years to get to the point where the town collectively says to itself, we have no gaps in our sidewalk system. I think we're always going to be working towards that goal. So I think the question then becomes, what are we doing little by little, maybe, to continue to get towards that? And it's filling in this content here, like these bullet points that explain, as recently as spring of 2021, we adopted the complete streets policy, which is a piece of the puzzle there. And then in 2020, we got a grant to do a gap of sidewalk, and we'll continue to add this information. So to me, that's answering the question about status. Someone wants to know how far we've gone with this. They can just click on that and they'll see all these notes and all this information dating back to, at this point, December 2020.
Well,
That-
yeah, I don't disagree with anything you said, Andrew. Yeah.
Something we could make a effort to do, and it looks like Andrew has done this on these ones, is have the updates in some type of chronological order and noting at least like spring of this year, in like each update, so that it's a little more chronological in the notes following the strategy. And so then you don't have to, update each 3 months. You can see the timeline of implementation. And also we are on the main master plan implementation committee website, not this list. We have talked about putting the quarterly reports up, and I do need to get around to doing that. But that'll also be an opportunity for people to look at what's happening every 3 months. That's less,
The only question, I'm sorry. The only question I would have, Andrew, and John too, is this is quite a bit of effort to go through with the expectation that somebody may actually look at it. Some citizen may actually open this up and look at these bullets and say, "Oh, that's interesting. Look at that." I'm just wondering, how much that effort is worth versus expending it on something else, particularly you and Dan and Jean. I'm concerned about you all as much as anyone. If we volunteers do something, that's one thing, but I'm more concerned about you spending your time doing this with the idea that somebody may someday actually look at it. And I think it's been pretty much proven that doesn't happen all that often. We make a lot of effort. We put in a lot of effort to try to make this stuff available and visible, and then people don't look at it very much. So I'm just saying, something to think about, because this is not an insignificant effort you've proposed here, right? I mean, we're talking about some amount of time to do this. So
yeah, look, I first of all, Stan, I appreciate the the concern for us as staff, and allocating time and resources to doing this. I do think that it is a lot of effort to do this. I think the effort is going to be more in this initial stage of getting all the content up, like at a baseline. You know what I mean? Like going across all the strategies and every goal category and getting some level of information on there. And then just keeping it up to date, I don't think is going to be as bad. I mean, if we go in on a regular basis and update a link or two here or there, or a bullet point here or there, I don't, Gene or Dan might disagree. Maybe they see it as a long term. It is going to be an onerous thing. But to me, I think updating it after we get the baseline data up there is not going to be that bad. But I agree with you. It's questionable as to how many people are going to look at this. But at the same time, we did sort of, from the very initial discussions we had as a group, we talked about, okay, how are we going to get the word out?
I
think this is, having a web presence is like probably the best way to go about it. Just always point it back to it and say, there it is. It's all the information's there. All you got to do is go to this address and you'll find it all there. What have we been doing?
This is all extremely laudable. And, many groups have done this over and over again but the result has been often that it's very little referred to or very little used. So does it seem like a great idea? Absolutely, of course. Is it, is the ROI worth it? I don't know. That's a question I think we got to think about for ourselves, because, it means that you and Gene and Dan aren't doing something else, aren't doing a trails thing or a zoning thing or a planning thing or a senior center thing. So I just saying, something to think about, and it, it sort of determines the level of effort that we think ought to be put into this. So that's all.
Stan, I think your point is well taken. And one way I've always thought of this plan of making this master plan understandable, first of all, for myself, but also to the public, was reducing it to a narrative. And this is just something for us to think about, because to get people to read it, it's got to be simple, right? It's got to be kept simple. It's got to be, as I've said ages ago, written in story form. And Andrew, while you were talking about sidewalks, I was putting your explanation into, 2 or 3, 4 sentence paragraph in my head. And I think that's a really good way of communicating to the public that here's how the master plan is shaping up. And if we do that in terms of narratives and paragraphs, I think we may have an easier read than a bulleted, systematic kind of graph. If we tell a story of what's happening with the development of North Andover based on the master plan, I think we may have a few more readers than we would if we just report it as simple news. That's just a thought as the committees meet to decide how do we list progress. Let's do it in story form. Let's do it in narratives.
My response to your suggestion, Jay, which you've made on numerous occasions, is that there might be a selected subset of strategies, not all, but a few, that might lend themselves better to that technique because it's more helpful for people to get the idea or whatever, or to engage them in what we're trying to do. I'm not sure we necessarily need to be thinking about writing little narratives for 103 strategies. I'm not sure that's necessary, but I think maybe some subset of 103 might well benefit from.
I think I'm thinking in terms of transportation, for example, housing, for example. The narrative would be housing, and here are, I forget now how many elements came under housing, but George and I and Kelly have talked about these things and where they're headed, and just to put housing, for example, into a narrative.
No. That makes more sense to me, Jay. If you had a narrative at the element level, which would be 7 narratives, right?
Exactly.
That would describe sort of what the expectation is for that element area, be it housing or transportation or historical or whatever it is. Now that, so now that makes more sense to me. I could see something like that happening and being beneficial. Of course, somebody could look at the narrative and not have to get into the details if they didn't want to.
Exactly, and I think that would satisfy the public, and that may get us a few readers who wouldn't ordinarily take the time or energy to read through 103 elements, as you mentioned. Right. That's a burden. That's too hard.
So,
7 or 8 elements is whatever we have. 7 elements.
Yes,
that's an easy read if we do it in story form.
So Jay, could you take a pass at one of the subcommittee topics that you were involved with, and make a pass at a narrative at that level so we can review it?
Yeah, do transportation. Do a narrative for transportation.
No, he's not on the transportation, or I'm sorry.
Well, let's just, if we just, for example, I'm going to go back to how Andrew opened his explanation that sidewalks, for example, that component of the master plan will never be finished, and it is something that is in progress forever. And oh, by the way, here's 2 or 3 details to prove that we are living up to the master plan's expectation. We just got this one done, we got that one done, we got this one done, and we got that one done. But the topic, the opening topic sentence, I suppose, would be that this is a project that's never going to be complete because we're forever upgrading our sidewalks. And here are the details. let's see, then we'd follow with a paragraph about Route 125 and maybe a paragraph about Route 114. I'm just off the top of my head thinking of the major transportation work that's going on. And then we'd conclude with a paragraph about bus transportation and getting around town on public transportation. So we'd have maybe 2 or 3, maybe 4 paragraphs telling the story of transportation improvements in the town of North Andover and how they are based on the master plan that was approved by the public in several years ago. So we are, so once again, the selectmen are doing what they were sent to office to do.
But I think Gene has a good suggestion, Jay. I think take one of the element areas you're involved with
Sure.
and write a sample narrative, and then we can discuss it at our next meeting.
Sure, be happy to do that.
So if I can chime in. So Andrew, I really like what you've started here. I think this is exactly what I'm envisioning, because I think this is decidedly more robust than the spreadsheet. I think the spread, and I just sent the link to everybody, but the spreadsheet's great for jotting down basically these narrative, to at least put a skeleton arrangement for a narrative, which we can just turn into a more robust narrative, as Andrew's done here, Andrew and Dan. So stepping back real quick. So again, this is envisioned. This is a 10-year thing we're looking at. What this website goes up, in theory, it's going to be in place for 10 years. So you can click through it and basically come 10 years time or 9 years time, you'll be able to say, all right, this is what we've done chronologically to address this. And I think we should have laundry lists underneath each one of these, because the more information you provide, I think it helps sell what we're doing here. We're implementing things as part of the master plan. So stepping back from that real quick. So just for instance, some of these are, as you said with the sidewalks, it's ongoing. Can you term it ongoing? So I'm looking at element 26 under economic development right now, which was evaluate the uses of the Stevens estate for additional commercial potential while maintaining the historic value of the property and surrounding open space. Have we addressed that head on? Not necessarily, but my little blurb that I came up with, complete. The town entered a 10-year agreement with 2 potential 5-year extensions with Fireside Catering and Mass Audubon in May 2021 to manage the Stevens estate, effective October 15th, 2021. That's, if we have to add some language to that, so be it. But that's what I envision and putting. If you clicked on strategy 26, that would be what you read under the, populated under that. Versus strategy number 25 under economic development was encourage the development of mixed use buildings which support both residential and commercial uses. My blurb my initial blurb to that is that's ongoing. Mixed use projects such as the Signature Commons / Princeton properties and potentially the Royal Crest redevelopment adhere to this goal. So that's it's are you ever is it gonna be complete? No, but it's an ongoing thing, and you can cite examples to back up what's been done,
John, and to piggyback on that, I think another win here is the links. And so your Stevens Estate example, I mean, we can link to the important documents that back that agreement up.
Yep.
And it's sometimes difficult to navigate our website and find things like you're not sure if they're going to be on the town manager page or economic development or planning. And there's a lot of search, and this gets you really quick to a lot of really key information. And the downtown improvement master plan can be linked, the watershed update, the 125 corridor study. It would be a really, I think,
it's going to be one-stop shopping, because you'll link the downtown master improvements plan I reference a bunch of times here. I have a link provided for that. So again, if you get a chance, like I said, I apologize for not sending it sooner. I thought I had, but in any case, I just sent it. You can see what I started. Again, it's a starting point.
Yep.
But that's kind of like what I envision, and then what Andrew did is to take it to another level and give a deliverable for what we're doing here.
So between Jay and Dan, if you could work together, and Jay, you kind of line out that narrative that we can incorporate in here, and Dan, if you can build out the transportation goals that we know of in chronological order, we'll just kind of focus on that one chapter, I think,
Sure.
and try to flesh out what would be a template for the other 6.
My purpose, I guess, is readability. You know, I want to. I use the word story because I'm thinking that that's what's going to get people to read. John's talking about a far more detailed presentation of accomplishments and ongoing work. I mean, that's another way of looking at it too. So sure. I mean, I'll happy. Dan, I'll work with you, and we'll come up with a couple of paragraphs to sum up transportation.
I would just say real quick, just to add on, I definitely can appreciate the the approach that Jay wants to take, because believe you me, there's nothing I want more than people to easily look at this and not, slam their head against the wall with just information overload. So there's something to be said for it. I'm wondering if we can't go both directions. I'm thinking having something akin to what Jay is describing as sort of a header to each one of these categories to sort of do an overarching dive into, thematic elements with respect to transportation, land use, housing, et cetera, I think is a good way to go. But I also think, just from my perspective as, someone who works for the town, and, when people call and say, well, what's going on with this project? What's going on in that project? Or, having this compendium of information is also a good thing too, to point back to people and say, look, as a matter of fact, there's a lot of projects, all of which are referenced in our master plan that we're working towards, and here they are. And here's one website you can peruse at your convenience to look and see what we've done. I think it's good both ways to be able to do, for someone who wants to just take the 5-second, let's read the paragraph, see what's going on generally. And then for someone who's going to dive a little deeper, having more information packed into it as well. I think, we can appeal to both types of consumers of information.
Sure.
I agree completely with that. And again, if you pop open this website, Jay, and you see that overarching narrative presented first, and then you see all the strategies, but they're collapsed, and then you can drop down each one to get additional information, and then we put the laundry list of all the specifics with all the links and whatnot. Again, I think that serves all types of readers, and it gives us, again, it shows that what we've accomplished, or what's been accomplished. Not we haven't accomplished anything.
It's almost like we're writing the final report for this master plan, right?
Right. That's right.
Yeah.
It's sort of like we're just starting, and we're going to build a final report incrementally until it's done and we're done.
And honestly,
we're calling attention to the fact that some of it is never ending.
Yeah.
Well,
and that's
we don't call it never ending. We refer to it as ongoing.
Ongoing, yeah. But that's good news too.
But a lot of these strategies, where if you write a certain blurb, you can literally cut and copy that for a number of the strategies.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's not as invasive a task as it may seem, but we just got to get the information. We got to generate the narratives and the information for what we can, and then add to it as warranted. Again, it's not a requirement. It's just, if we happen to have an update, we can provide an update as things come across.
Yeah, sounds good.
By the way, maybe we'll save a few bucks on the back end on a consultant that does our next master plan, because I have to think that, what they'll do, but the first thing they would want to do is go through all the stuff we accomplished in our last master plan, and we can be like, oh, we did that work for you. Here you go.
Yeah.
Just chop that out of your budget. Focus on the future. And
Andrew, do we have a hard stop at 6 o'clock?
we have a hard, like a hard stop at preferred 6 o'clock, drop dead at 6:10.
No. Okay.
All right. So again, in that case, just to keep things moving, I like saying that a lot, apparently. So check your, oops, sorry, hold on a sec. There we go.
But John, can I just make a suggestion real quick before we move on?
Sure.
What I think that, Dan will continue to make updates. I encourage any of the board members to reach out to Dan if they have comments or ideas on how to structure the website. I know that Jay is going to draft at least one of those narrative sections. I think that's going to be helpful. I think the goal would be to get the web page at some level of a presentable standard that we can actually publish it. And we don't have to advertise that we're publishing it necessarily, but just get it up, and then it'll continue to populate itself. And in a couple months, we'll have, I think, a lot of information on there, and we can be very clear that it's in the process of being populated and it's not complete. But I think to get it up within a month by the next meeting, I think would be good, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So again, check your emails and take a look at if we need to establish an email dialogue, by all means. Again, I wish I had done this sooner. I apologize.
I'd like to suggest, Andrew, could you send out a link to the draft you have of that page, and we could look at that draft and then submit comments through email?
Yes.
With the idea that within a month or so, it would be updated, and then it would be made public, which means that there would be a link to it on the town website under the Master Plan Implementation Committee.
Yeah, what I'm going to do is I'll send you guys a link to the site, and I'm going to make you guys viewers of the site. If you're okay with not being editors at this point, I think I just want to just keep it through.
Right. No, we still make comments to you.
Yeah, or to Dan, and then we'll go from there. But yes, I'll make sure you guys have view access to the draft site.
Okay, so comments to Dan. Yeah.
Yes. Why don't we go through Dan right now?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. If we have nothing else regarding that, just one point of additional new business. I can let I'll give Andrew the introduction to this, but basically we did get the 2 grants awarded for the Mills to Hills Trail future development. So I just didn't know if Andrew wanted to speak to that real quick.
Sure. And I may have mentioned this at a past meeting, so apologies if you guys are getting information you've already known about. But we got 2 state earmarked state funds from their earmarks process, totaling $140,000, which enables us to undertake a design and permitting process for building out a trail connection between Main Street that we envision going over Osgood Pond through via a kind of a boardwalk structure all the way up to the Mills to Hill trailhead. And this would, and I don't have the correct master plan strategies in front of me to cite, but we do talk about expanding recreational trail opportunities, better connecting other areas of town to our downtown, and so this would certainly fall into that category. But more importantly, we recently undertook the downtown improvement master plan, and it calls for looking at this option in there. So what we're going to do is we've engaged an engineering firm, a civil engineer, GPI. This is the same engineering firm that is working on the Route 114 project for MassDOT. And they have taken a close look at this. We've engaged the property owners at the mills. We've engaged, what else did we talk to, Gene? We had someone else at this side too.
Well, Sutton Pond representative we're meeting with tomorrow afternoon.
That's right.
Sutton Pond actually owns the pond, but there is a CR on the pond that provides the town with some rights.
So assuming we get everyone on board and the RCG, the owner of the mills, they've been very receptive. We will have GPI move forward on that. We do need to secure some additional funding, which I've requested through the capital budgeting process, but there might be other options for that. We could request a CPC allocation. We could, it remains to be seen, but I was also going to look at whether ARPA could cover this, ARPA being the COVID relief funding passed through the federal government, passed through the states to municipalities. So we're looking to do that. And then separately, we got a grant from the state of Massachusetts through the Housing Choice program. We're a housing choice community in the amount of $75,000 to undertake a rezoning of our downtown, which is both called for in the master plan and in our downtown improvement master plan. So again, we're adhering strictly to the master planning processes that we've undertaken. And what this will enable us to do is to really kind of take a fresh look at the zoning, bring in some of the areas that are sort of like, if you think of down by the corner of Sutton and Maine, you know, you've got some auto body uses and some kind of light industrial and some kind of no man's landish kind of areas over there, weaving that back into what the downtown is, and to maybe look at, you know, different land use options, different, you know, dimensional standards that we could apply, different uses that we could bring in to the fold. We want someone to take a fresh look and maybe refer to other downtowns that have been successful throughout the Commonwealth and maybe elsewhere that we could draw from as references, that we could use as sort of a way to help to continue the process of redeveloping our downtown. So we'll engage a consultant with those funds. And thank you to Dan and Jean. They've been really helpful in developing an RFP language for going out to bid for that project. So once we're squared away with the state on getting the funds in place, we'll put out that RFP and move forward. Dan, Jean, did you have anything to add that I missed on any of those projects?
Nope, I don't think so.
Nope.
Or does anybody have any questions?
Well, yeah, I'd like to ask exactly where are the endpoints of this trail? Is one endpoint on that little used street that goes across the dam? You know, if you turn off Main Street as if you were going to park behind Town Hall, but instead take that road that goes to the right.
Yeah.
Would
so
the trail end on that someplace?
Yep. So we envision, George, as kind of getting people off of that roadway as soon as possible. So wherever the connection makes sense with the topography, but as close to the Main Street end of the pond as possible.
Okay, and then where's the other end point?
So-
Is it on High Street?
Nope. So
Or is it-
it'll be in the West Mill parking lot. So if you follow straight down from the Jade, there's a culvert there. It looks like a cement roadway that you cross over. So if you're looking at the pond, just to the left of that. So
Let's see.
it would almost come out in the grassed area at the center between the Jade and the office building across from the Jade. There's a
Okay.
So we would pull them to the left of that culvert and then kind of hopefully navigate through the center of that island where it would come across a grassed area and then into where that common seating area is at the front of the West Mill along High Street.
Yeah, okay.
So-
All right, thanks.
Very, very preliminary. I mean, this is a site walk with the engineers initially, so they got to go back and look at things like topography and some other things. But
No, I understand, but
that's our initial thought.
And I have to credit Jean because I think this was Jean's vision even during the master plan, the downtown master plan process. I think she was the one who was like, you know, be great to, you know, connect Main Street and the Mills to Hills. And she worked so hard on getting the Mills to Hills to be a reality. And, you know, even the idea of going over Osgood Pond, which I think is creative. And I think hopefully it, you know, if we can see this project through, it'll be something that, you know, gets more pedestrians moving through the downtown. And of course, we've got those housing units coming online at Avalon. RCG is permitted for another, I believe, 51 units. So, you know, there's going to be a critical mass of people that we want to make sure feel connected and easily have easy access to downtown shops and restaurants. And if you get that to happen, then hopefully you entice more investment in the downtown. People who want to invest say, oh, there's these people who live here and they're well connected to the downtown. It definitely, I think it can spark sort of a domino effect, hopefully a positive.
And walkability will help lessen parking needs. So the more that we can make it at least accessible and walkable, then, you know, less people just driving from the Mills to Main Street for an errand.
Right.
Awesome. Good work, everybody.
Yeah, and we'll keep you guys posted. You know, there's continually more grant opportunities that just keep popping up every year, and there's more, you know, more and more master plan strategies that you know need funding to get moving forward. So this is a constant process in our minds, myself, Gene, Dan, and others, to sort of say, you know, Dan can probably rattle off a million times where I've said, well, can you just find a master plan strategy to apply this grant for? So we're constantly speaking in that mold.
Cool. Hey,
Great.
great. Knocks off, you know, that, you know, we've discussed it many times in our meetings alone about that trail. So to see money going towards it and getting it moved, that's great. So, speaking of getting moved, there's my segue. Let's pick out a meeting date for the next meeting if we can, if we want to. So,
The 11th.
that let me just pop my calendar open here.
Is that a Monday? No, maybe I'm.
The
The
10th is a Monday.
The 10th.
The 10th would be the Monday.
So, you know, normally I would suggest going the week after, but the week after is Martin Luther King.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
yeah, we'd really have to, if we want to stay on a Monday, it would be either the 10th or the 24th. Again, they're both select board meeting dates. So it's a good and a bad thing in the sense that I think it keeps us
Moving.
line.
Could we do the Tuesday after Martin Luther King Day?
The 11th? Oh, the 18th.
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 Well,
I don't
there's
know.
a planning board meeting that evening, so I'm going to say no to that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Both because Gene is going to be out, and then Kelly's on the planning board.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if the 10th works better for me than the 24th. And I don't know if Tuesday the 11th is open for anybody.
I would say let's try for the 10th and see how that works.
Yeah, I would agree.
Okay, are
That's
folks
my
good with
vote.
the 10th?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's good.
All right. So
And just FYI, John, I would encourage. So we're going to be completing a quarter here. So my suggestion is we should have a drafted report for consideration on the 10th to be voted on, so that we can forward that to the select board thereafter.
okay.
And you know, a lot of the report can talk about us moving forward on the website, and then we can get into that later. But
Yep.
just as a heads up.
Yeah, I can get something started and bounce it back and forth. So.
Yep.
All right. Given time constraints, unless anybody has anything additional, if anybody wants to offer a motion to adjourn, I'm
So
willing to
moved.
accept. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Who
That was
Who
Stan,
who
and
moved it?
seconded by Jay.
Stan J.
Okay.
And again, the meetings, we should have a recording available to you, George, after the fact. If you need
Right.
it.
No, I know. I just, if I couldn't pick it up in real time, I was afraid I wouldn't pick it up in the recording either.
Gotcha.
Uh,
All right. All right. So going down the line here, all those in, well, the motion's been made. So, Jay Dowd,
Yes.
Stan Lippert,
yes.
George Collar,
Yes.
Meredith Barnes Cook,
Yes.
Holly Williams,
Yes.
Sean McDonough,
Yes.
and myself, John Strauss. Yes. And with that, I believe we are adjourned.
All right.
All right.
Make it
All
sound
right.
better.
Happy
Holidays,
holidays,
everyone.
everyone.
You as well.
Bye.
You as well.
Happy holidays.
Yeah.
Bye.
Merry Christmas.
All right, take care.
All right, and thank you to Cam. We're all set.